Okay,
Good to go.
well, I guess I call it to order. Is that my job since Claire's not here?
I think so.
I
Aye.
call the meeting to order at 10:05
But
and I'm going to turn it immediately. Well, we have an agenda. We should approve it. We're going to talk about vendor evaluations, market date, hours and location.
yeah, and I see I have a typo on the call to order. I have it at 11. That was,
I already made a note on my thing, so
Yep.
minutes will be hopefully correct.
okay. I was doing copying and pasting and
Everybody good with the agenda?
Yep.
Yep.
yes,
It's unanimous.
great. All right, so the first thing on the agenda is the vendor evaluations. I think I sent them all, the ones that I received. I scanned them and sent them to you, and Daryl just got to have a quick peek at them. So I think overall, I think the evaluations looked good. I don't know if anybody had any questions or concerns or, now these were just the vendors that filled
Right.
these out and
Those that responded.
correct. And, you know, I did do, anonymous,
Right.
that's what we were trying to do so that we could really capture. Didn't want people feeling like, if I tell the truth, maybe. I don't know. So, anyway, I think that everybody, thought the pricing was good. I am going to meet with the other farmers market, managers. We were supposed to meet today, but because of the weather, it was canceled. We are all gonna kind of try to really sort of do everything very similar. So pricing wise and just things of that nature. Our handbook, we're all kind of sharing our handbook and seeing that we're all doing you know, exactly what our handbook says and what somebody else's handbook says. And you know, of course, keeping the difference of the markets because they are different. So we, you know, obviously we won't be Manzanita or we aren't going to be Seaside. But just kind of looking at the pricing structure. Seaside does it a little bit different. They have partial payments. So you can do a full year, you can do a daily, or you can do a partial, like you pick like however many days.
2
Mhm.
months or whatever.
Yeah, and so that might be something we might consider. We'll just have to kind of look and see what that might look like.
Will that make it very complicated for us since we have a smaller space than Seaside Market? You know, if they
Mhm.
have 3 extra vendors one week, they could probably fit them in, whereas we might not be able to.
The other issue with that for us is, isn't it, they have to reapply for the food safety certificate, kind of like 2 or 3 farmers markets before the end? So I don't want them to like not come for those last 3. I'd rather they pay for either one or the whole season.
Yeah, we're working on that with the health department because there was that weird overlap where the last 3 markets, I guess, of our season wouldn't be covered and they would
Yeah.
have to pay a whole new fee. But I think that we've all talked about that and we did want to talk to the health department about extending that
They just for the season.
for the season.
Makes sense,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, so that's one thing that we are trying to do. I would say we probably had 95% of our vendors paid the whole year rate.
Wow.
And so I only collected daily rates from, I don't know, 6 vendors, 7 vendors. So we did try to come up with a system that sort of made it more, there was more incentive to pay for the year. But that it didn't really work as well as I had thought that it might, because our fiscal year ends in June. And so when we billed everyone in June, if they paid, then it all went into June. And then when I look at the financials, it showed we didn't have any money. And I'm like, wait, what just happened? So now I want to work with Lori or finance, to sort of figure out a better way to do that. Whereas in previous years, they just captured it when they paid. And so instead of doing that billing.
Yeah.
So that's something that I need to work on. Because like I said, if you looked at the financials, it, it didn't look very good. But it will be made up
Right,
because.
right now, we're negative.
Right. And so, but when you look at June and they all sign up again, then it actually balances out. So,
Assuming as many come as
Right.
here.
yeah. So, so that's sort of, really mostly about the vendor evaluation, unless anybody else has any questions on that. Okay. I mean, I would love, oh, go ahead, Bob.
Were there any things that seem to be, have complaints from a number of vendors?
I would say the thing that I think the two things that kind of I remember from the evaluations were a lot of people liked the fact that we weren't letting people go through the market early because they felt it was a dangerous situation. So we got some comments on that. But on the flip side, we also had a couple of vendors who do set up early who were kind of like, hey, wait a second, I could totally be selling. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but I felt like, and we'll get into this, I think, when we go to number 2, but I felt like we have more people that come between 11 and 12 than we do between 4 and 5.
Mhm.
I don't know what your,
Customers or, yeah.
so
Yeah.
that are waiting to come in than we do when we stay. And so that brings me to the hours. I personally, I don't think the vendors will do 11 to 5. I just don't. They like.
I sensed on the vendors' comments to that was there was a little pro 12:30
Mhm.
to 4:30 or something like, a half hour difference, but not a big. No. I didn't see any big
Yeah,
number of those that wanted something like start at 10 or that. It was just maybe that
yeah.
12:30, 5 o'clock or 12:30, 4:30 or.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of like the idea of 12 because of the whole lunch thing. I found that a lot of people wanted to get lunch and we weren't open till 1 o'clock, so they were going elsewhere.
Right.
And the other thing is I spoke to the manager at the Legion. I talked to Kelly. And if we ended up doing the 4 o'clock in time, the vendors, we can use their parking lot.
More space. in there.
We could use it all because they open at 4. And so they would be more amenable. She still has to get final approval from their board.
Yeah.
But she thought that it made sense. And so, I mean, that was kind of one of the issues that we were having again was with parking for vendors. And it would be nice to be able to utilize more of the Legion. I mean, and it could be even another idea I was thinking, it could even also be a local, people who
Sure. More people coming to
locals.
the market can park.
Yeah.
could park there.
Yeah.
And they would know, the locals would know more about it than the visitors.
Right.
Because we could, So anyway, it's kind of, one thought I had was, changing those times to 12 to 4 to see how that works. Now Seaside's interesting because I'm sorry, not Seaside. Manzanita is only 3 hours long. They're not 4 like we are, the rest of us are.
Yeah,
So,
they have the customer, their customers are right there at the gate waiting for,
mhm.
Yeah.
they're in and out.
Yep. Yeah, so I guess my point in bringing that up is that we have a lot of the same vendors, similar vendors, and they don't have a problem with shorter,
Well, my thing about the short, I'm okay going to maybe 4:30 or 4, I think 4 is a little early to cut it because we do get a fair number of people coming in up off the beach.
Mhm.
who will then go through the market and buy things. How much they buy, I have no idea. But they do come up, the tourists.
But if we have the signage changed, that we're closing at 4, I think those people would come up. If
They're
they-
gonna stay on the beach until they stay on the beach, but, you know, but I don't know how much money that is and whether they would really miss it.
I'm not concerned so much about those people off the beach so
Yeah.
much, because I found those guys are coming in, they're the 11 o'clockers. They're the ones who are like,
Oh, before they go down.
before they go down. And because they're walking by on their way to the beach and they're like, oh, we wanna come in. They see it all set up and my bigger concern is the locals who are saying, because they're already, I mean, I've already had a few people say, how come you don't stay open till 6? Because they get off
Right.
at 5.
Right,
However, I have also talked to several businesses in the downtown. And they also, in the summer, they are not coming after work. They're like, we're going home.
They're
yeah,
tired.
They're
right,
tired.
Right.
They're,
What I can say is the library over the last 5 or 6 years has tried several times, gotten requests to stay open later.
Mhm.
And they used to stay open later.
Mhm.
And last winter, we tried staying open till 6 or 6:30, at least one day a week, because we had specific requests. And we
Mhm.
picked the day that they wanted and nobody came. So
I know.
but you want to go home.
Yeah,
You want to go home
yeah,
if you're working downtown.
yeah. And I think a
Great
lunch,
idea
oh,
to try to capture the noon crowd, actually.
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, 10 years ago, when I first moved here and started volunteering, they offered, the food carts were up above and they started at 12 for people who wanted lunch and it was crowded.
Mm-hmm,
And then the market opened at 1.
mm-hmm.
You know, so I think 12 or 12:30 is great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
But
I know the food vendors definitely, they liked
yeah,
that if we were to open earlier, they were. But that brings me to Rusty, do you want to give any updates that you have as far as if we might be displaced?
Yeah. So
on-
currently the city hall is in the design phase and we're looking at construction potentially starting in September, October timeframe if everything goes right. When that happens, the back portion is going to be completely used. We don't know if they're going to need lay down space for materials and things like that. They are coming in and leveling the building when they do that. So I don't know what kind of space is going to be available, but my guess is that you probably are going to be able to have your market this next year and then you'd be displaced the following. We are getting ready to start the package that would go to the design review board process, which will start to really iron out the timelines and get them more concrete. But our best guess is right now, I don't think you're going to be displaced. We will have to find temporary space for city workers. And we don't know if that's going to eventually take up the parking lot. So that's one of the next big pieces that we need to work out. And we may likely be split in multiple locations too. It sounds like the police department may be in a slightly different spot than City Hall, but we're still working out the details.
Mhm.
So unfortunately, we don't have any concrete answers at this point in time, but we're trying to start nailing that stuff down.
Are
My
they
understanding,
contemplating moving the police department down to Southwind before doing the work on the city hall?
No, because it sounds like that the construction, you're probably gonna have a slight delay between the police station and the city hall project, but it wasn't very much. It was something like a month or two.
Oh,
What they're really trying to do is, once they start one project, they'd like to line up both, because if you get the contractor here, they can go from one to the other. You don't have to mobilize a second time. It's a lot
Yeah.
cheaper.
Yeah.
Scheduling's easier. So that's the last thing we'd heard from our contractor. So,
and my understanding too is that they're talking about this whole area not being available once they start.
So the footprint of the new building, yeah, basically is going to take out, the retaining wall is gonna stay there. So where your market was before, we won't go any further to the west than that. But yeah, everything else from that point forward to the back where the trail is, all of that's going to be probably ripped up and materials are gonna be on site. There'll be a construction trailer, I'm assuming. So there's gonna be a lot of stuff here.
Yeah. So that kind of put the kibosh in my mind of utilizing this upper parking lot for
Right.
the food,
Yeah.
things of that nature. Which, I mean,
Yeah,
in the future possibly, but
now.
not now.
Is the timeline for Nakus such that we could think about, the committee could think about, having the market year after next down there? Or at least
So not this,
year,
not 24, but 25.
right?
Yeah, I believe that's gonna be the case because, well, it depends what happens with the DRB situation. It's
Sure.
that they're working through right now, but. Yes, the plan was, I think construction was gonna start in June, July timeframe, if I remember right. If,
Yeah, I haven't been following.
if the permits and I mean, again,
Sure.
you gotta get all the permits and everything
Sure.
all nailed down, but the timeline was, yes, starting in construction in the summer sometime and being completed. I wanna say it was 6 to 10 months, somewhere in that time period. So I would think, yeah, 25 should be no problem. It should be done and you would have adequate space there to do it outside or under the covered
Mhm.
awnings they're proposing.
Mhm.
So, yeah, that's certainly a possibility.
Yeah. So, I think what I'm hearing is that we will still be able to have it here down below where we had it last year. Cause we didn't utilize the space up here anyway,
Yeah.
except for
Other
parking,
than
just
park.
except for parking.
but if we can use the
Le-
whole Legion parking lot rather
Yeah.
than 4 spaces.
Right,
That would be great.
Yes, that would solve it, but.
Yeah.
As long as we got there before the public did,
Yeah,
Yeah,
if they open it to anybody.
yeah,
right. And that's why I'm kind of thinking that if we did the 12 to 4 timeline, then that would make it easier for our vendors, for the Legion to approve it. But again, I think the pushback is gonna be from some of the locals who do come, after between 4 and 5, but
that's not a whole lot.
it's not. You've been there.
Yeah.
I've noticed that too.
It's always. And actually, to be perfectly honest, since I think by that time counting, we kind of take turns, doing the counter. Is that I know some of the people I'm counting are vendors that I don't recognize that are going in and out to go up to the office. or something. Yeah, so, there are times like, oh dear, I think I counted him twice now, so, I'll let the next group in, without counting, so.
Well, and I've noticed, so like Chef Josh, Chef from Stephanie,
Yeah,
I mean, they're all coming between 1 and 3.
yeah, they've got to get back to their restaurant.
They got to
Yeah.
go back to dinner.
Yeah, so the only people that I've sort of seen that hit the market in that later time frame are city workers. We're like, we have to close, but
You open at 12, that allows them to come down on their
at
lunch
lunch,
hour.
right?
Yeah.
So,
I think the one scheduled thing I hear might be markets after Labor Day.
That's a possibility. The only other issue I could see is if they come in and they want to start demolition early, but
And we did have vendor comments
we did,
about no markets after Labor Day
Yep, we did.
anyway. So whether we plan that or let it happen, I don't know.
it's something we could certainly tell the contractor too. It's like, hey, we've kind of promised to market
Yeah,
time until September, right? And then after September, which you usually don't get a huge turnout in September, right? It slows down after all the kids start going back to school
Yeah.
and stop traveling.
but is it better for us to tell the vendors that rather than let it happen later?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. I think plan ahead. I
Yeah.
don't, Mayank, what do you think about about that.
I think it would be fine. I mean, I think even if we get pushed out or pushed out early, we'll still have one or two markets in September, and that'll be fine. It'll be a good compromise. Maybe we lose one market. I mean, we lost one market last season because of the weather. I mean,
Mm,
these things happen. So
Yeah.
yeah,
And if for some reason the construction says, no, we want to start right after Labor Day, maybe we give the vendors then like a $10 or $15, $20 discount on the next year's yearly fee because they didn't get to complete the whole season.
mhm,
I don't know.
yeah. I mean, we could kind
That
of
would be
pass,
fair.
yeah. So what I'm hearing is we're maybe, do we need a motion probably to change the market hours?
A motion,
Okay,
Or 12,
it's 12 to 4.
12 to 4.
Now, that still would leave about a half an hour for people to get their cars out of the Legion, but there's really only one or two people who
Correct.
get in there,
Yeah.
you know.
Is there a second?
Okay, I'll second it.
Been moved and seconded that we change the start and end time to be 12 to 4. All those in favor?
Aye.
I
Opposed? Hearing none, it's passed.
right.
Start and end date, is that what we need to consider next?
Yeah, probably. 'Cause I want to be pretty, I want the vendors to, I don't want to surprise the vendors, you know?
Right. Looking at the calendar. So, based on history, first market could be the 11th or the 18th of June, probably. Those are the middle.
Historically, it's always been whatever Tuesday is closest to the 15th, which sounds like it would be the 18th.
Closest to which?
The 15th, the.
Okay, so that would,
Middle of June.
why don't we
well,
start
the
so
18th
late?
would be closer.
Yeah,
So
I mean, I don't think there's anything set in stone that that's when it has to be, but that.
Right.
why does it start kind of in the later end of?
Well, I guess the other thing we're not considering is, yeah, again, that's when the weekend between those two dates is,
Sandcastle,
Sandcastle,
Hmm.
Ooh.
but I don't know what
but that
that's,
wouldn't really affect us.
I don't think I don't remember us doing anything about Sandcastle before.
Okay.
So,
So,
If
you know,
we're looking-
Manzanita starts, a week earlier than we do. I think they start the end of May. And of course, Astoria, same thing, but Seaside and we always kind of start around the same. And part of that was because my understanding is the vendors' kids are still getting out of school.
Yeah.
So they,
Well, now, do the vendors have any problems with Manzanita starting a little? bit?
they don't have their full,
They don't have.
they don't have their full vendors until pretty much when we start, is what they've noticed.
I would check with the vendors, but I hadn't even thought about when their kids get out of school, but when they've got product.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah, that's
what
the
their
thing.
growing season is
Beaches.
dictating as far as when they can come and have anything to sell.
I think we should just,
You know, I don't know what the answer is, but I think you ought to ask them.
Right, our produce vendors are gonna be short on stuff the earlier we go.
yeah, I think we should
I
start
mean,
tuning,
Baird already doesn't come the
not till July.
2 or 3 markets at least.
Yeah. I mean, I think the 18th would be,
Yeah, I think the only argument for going for the 11th would be the fact if we curtail in September,
but
but I'm,
Yeah.
I'm okay either way.
yeah,
And I would, as far as, you can tell me I'm talking too much. Either of you, but It seems to me that this past season was exceptional in only losing one market to rain. And not being, I don't remember, did you close any of them early? That was not a rare event in the past.
Well, we also didn't do a market on July 4th, so that was
Yeah.
that was another where that
was kind of just.
We didn't
Uh-huh.
punch it a week late, the way I think we had done at least once before when we had.
And we could do the 4th this year, no problem. It's a Tuesday, or the 2nd is Tuesday.
right. Yeah. So how many weeks would we have if we started on the 18th and we ended the Tuesday after Labor Day?
Okay, the Tuesday after Labor Day would be the 3rd of September,
Oh, it's
because Labor Day is going to be on the 2nd. First Monday, right? Yeah. Okay, so 18, 1, 2. Twelve markets,
Well, and I think that's pretty standard. 12,
12.
I think of it as traditionally has always been 16 markets, you know?
okay.
I would have to go back and look, but that's always what I've had.
I'd say 15 max, just on
I
my,
may just be mistaken.
yeah, because
Okay.
we didn't used to use the last week of September. It was always the third week of September.
I thought we did, but again, I could be mistaken. I may be thinking,
Well, maybe maybe the Tuesday after Labor Day is too soon. Maybe we,
Maybe go to the 10th.
So the 10th instead of the 3rd. That'd be 2 markets in September that
Mhm.
would be potentially at risk
Yeah.
from the project.
but at least we could kind of, it would only be if something happened with the project, it would just be, we could be saying like maybe 1 or 2 that would be shut down. As opposed to,
So I'm hearing we're talking 18 on the start and September 10 on the end. Anybody want to make that motion?
Sure, I'll move that the opening date be June 18th and the end date, closing date be September 10th.
Or a second?
Okay,
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous.
okay. Perfect. And, I will, if any vendors, we get a big pushback, then
Right.
obviously I would bring it back to the committee and say,
Right,
I've got mutiny.
yeah.
So
Half the market said,
Yeah.
okay.
then, but just in talking to the vendors, this is what I've heard from
Yeah.
them. There's a couple that are gonna be, oh no, I would
Yeah,
go.
again, you're never gonna make 100% happy.
Well, I just remember the Astoria market. I remember they go to like the first week or the second week of October.
first week.
And inevitably, that market is, I mean, it's horrible weather.
Yeah.
They cancel it.
Yeah,
So I think going to October is, unless you're in a covered area, is
yeah.
not worth it.
And potentially, if we do move to the school, we would have
Yeah,
more, we might be able to move inside or, we would have a different.
Yeah.
Yeah, but because of our location, it just,
Location and
yeah.
potential
Right.
construction.
right. Okay. Is there anything for the good of the order that anybody wants to bring up or talk about?
Just once again, thank you to you for gathering all of the volunteers together for a very nice gathering. That was
yes,
It was
really nice.
fun. Thank you.
Oh, yeah, I'm glad everyone could make it. Yeah.
It was very fun.
Yeah, I mean, I wish we could have done it with the vendors because the vendors are really excited.
Yeah.
And you know, I will plan, you know, I think what we'll do is we'll plan for the tenth being a big party with the
Right.
vendors.
That was fun when,
Yeah.
when we would do
Yeah.
that.
those
Yeah.
were- those
So
were-
I think that we'll go ahead and make sure that we have that on the schedule instead of the last minute. Oh, we should do that because it seemed like the vendors were really excited about that. So. Cool.
Anything else? Rusty, do we have any public on the line?
We can check. No, we do not.
I don't think we're gonna have public comment then. Bob, you have anything else?
I've had more than enough to say. Thank you.
Well, Bob, we appreciate the historical perspective.
Yeah, he can
Oh,
add more history. Well, Daryl, I
I'll
don't,
check into my recollections of there being regularly 16 markets and see, because that sounds like a real disconnect. I'm not, obviously it doesn't dictate what it should be, but
Yeah,
among other things, I should be able to look back at the files of the earlier handbooks. And that always has what the starting and ending dates are for the year.
yeah.
do we need to consider our next meeting and what do we do there?
Yeah, so I think probably the next steps for me or for us is gonna be the handbook and getting the Manage My Market set up. We're shooting for, so again, like I said, I've been working with the other managers, market managers. We kind of want to roll it out at the same time. And so we're like I said, we're supposed to meet and figure that out, but we've been talking about January, February is when we want Manage My Market to be open. So I did get a call. I haven't heard back from them after I gave them, I answered their question, but it was a pizza place in Portland. And they were talking about possibly coming out here and doing our market. So,
That would be great.
yeah.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed.
Actually, I have a kind of a public comment thing, and that is, I have been. I will check with the guys that have been coming for the shift that I've been coming to. And I have been thinking of no longer blanket saying that I will always be here for that and I'll be sort of the boss of it, which I don't think those guys, you guys need a boss. I'm not sure that you recognize I was doing that, but that I will, whatever shift, if you need somebody to fill in,
Okay,
give me a call, but at the moment, I'm not planning that I'm regularly gonna be here at for
Okay.
that shift.
for that, I think you were like 11 to
Yeah.
1 or something, that shift. Okay,
All of our committee members are good for another year.
yes. Yep, nobody's up until 2024, and I think it's you, Daryl, right? You're
Yeah.
the only one that would be up in 2024. Okay.
And that's the end of 2024 or the beginning, yeah.
Yep.
That sounds right.
So,
So usually the first meeting of the year, we elect or re-elect officers. That
okay,
would be an agenda item
okay.
as well as whatever else you need. Otherwise,
Do we want to look at the calendar and see a time in January that I am going to be, well, we'll see where
yeah,
I'm going to be gone in Mexico. So that's the beginning of January. So I'm kind of need to be more towards the end.
I can always zoom in because I'm gonna be down in LA in the end.
Okay.
yeah, I'll probably could be remote depending on what
Mhm.
time it is. I'll be remote
Yeah,
most of January.
yeah. So,
I will be back towards the end,
yeah, I think towards the end is where I think we should kind of plan for,
first
Yeah.
February.
yeah, or the 1st of February. Yeah.
And the other thing I wanted to bring up is I think Myung you and Terry and I were still open to helping you with the inventory
Yeah,
and whatnot. So whenever all our 4 schedules get together.
Maybe when
Okay.
when it's not so cold in the garage.
I know.
I know with your ordering, but maybe, yeah, maybe March.
Yeah, yeah.
Or we can move everything into, I think last year we did it in that open space.
Yeah, I don't think we did it though. I think we did it in April.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
But if we need it earlier, we can, if we can just have,
Spread stuff around on the
yeah,
table.
yeah. And we could do it in that open space there.
Okay.
Cubicle.
okay.
I had another thought, and that is if you need any support on the handbook, let me know.
Okay.
Are we ready for the motion to adjourn? Anyone?
I'm ready.
Or Daryl, I'll second.
There we go. All in favor?
I
Happy holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays, everyone.
holidays.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.